All right. Thanks for clicking on my most recent podcast episode with Ryan Murphy, the most consistent backstroker in the history of backstroke. I have no plugs. I have no sponsors for this video, so I'm not going to take up your time with that before we get into the conversation. But if you do enjoy the conversation or any of Ryan's opinions or my opinions throughout the entire podcast, hit that like button. It helps me out a lot. It helps me make more videos like this, more conversations with more athletes. It'll just be good for everybody. So hit that like button if something happens during the video that you enjoy. Comment on the video if Ryan or I say something that you think is funny, or if you hate something that Ryan or I say. Just enjoy it, engage with it. Let's have some fun. Here we go. Ryan Murphy, podcast episode number 2. Enjoy. Thanks for coming on. I think you had quite the meet from a spectator's point of view. But I do want to start off with a little bit of a hot topic. I think you had a great meet. You had probably one of the most poorly timed blinks that I've seen in like podium history. Did you see? You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah. I can't remember which group posted that. If it was USA Swimming or like NBC Olympics. Yeah, but they did me dirty with one of those pictures.
I was trying to screenshot it though, and it was so difficult to find one frame where there was not a single blink happening, and you just happened to be like the guy that was blinking while everyone else's eyes were open on a photo that ended up being, a little bit of a controversial photo floating around the internet in one of the hot topics that ended up being debated. And I wanted to kind of get your opinion on that, on not necessarily like the fact that it was debated or who won. Just kind of like, you have a long international swimming career at this point. And so you've been to a lot of these meets. You've participated in the, team side of it. And, swimming is definitely an individualized sport outside of relays. You're in your lane, you're doing your thing. But the team side of it, I think, is a really interesting conversation that we can start having and maybe start trying to figure out if we're underutilizing or just not really paying attention to it. Because I thought the most interesting thing was no one had any idea what the hell was going on or how the hell you scored a meet until people like started digging on the FINA website. And they were like, hey, this is how you score an international meet. And you show that to people and they're like, how the hell is the U.S. like ever going to lose a meet, with this scoring? And the Aussies swam incredibly well. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of get your input on, like, do you think it's a problem? Do you think it's something that needs to be solved? Like, what's just kind of your like 10,000 foot, or if you want to go 10 feet or whatever kind of elevation you want to throw out there? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think it's one that like when you're in the competition, like we're really just focused on maximizing what we have on each day. And pretty much each person on the team is doing that. And so like for me, like looking at the team scores after the meet, like it happens after the meet. So like I didn't even realize that was going on during the meet. And then in terms of like how it's done, it's tough because like I totally do think that gold should be valued more than anything else. Very much so. Like it's very hard to go win a gold like at the international competitions. At the same time, like silvers and bronze aren't chump change there. Like they're very respectable in their own right. So I don't know exactly how they should score it. I'm more looking at it as a place that we could rally the team around. So like coming off of the meet, it's like, okay, like, I think I would love for the US to have an underdog mentality. So like I'm cool with saying, hey, Australia took that one. We're the underdogs. Let's put a fire under our butt and get rolling for this next year and figure out how to improve. So that's really kind of the message that like Nick and myself were giving to the team after. It's like, all right, like, yeah, good meet. I think you could take a lot of great things. Everyone could take a lot of great things from the season. And at the same time, we've got to figure out how to get a little bit better here so that we're on top next summer.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the point that I resonate the most with, or the structure that I resonate the most with, is that gold should definitely be the by far and away most important thing. But the conversation around gold being the only thing that matters, I think, is one, definitely insulting to anyone that is in like the top, even like 16 in the world. I think, adopting, and I put out a video, and talked about the scoring model and kind of like what I thought maybe we could do. And then looking back at it, after reading some of the comments and some of the feedback from people, I was like, all right, maybe the NCAA scoring model isn't too applicable here. But the conversation around gold being the only thing that matters and it's gold medal total, I don't think is really the correct direction to go. But how you score that, I mean, I think it's a huge conversation, and it's one that we haven't really had to address. It's one that no
Yeah.
one really ever kind of like looked at until, and it was a really funny thing. Like I just kind of casually screenshotted the awards and was like, here are the awards. It was kind of like my cap on the end of the coverage. And then I put my phone down. I was like, all right, whew, deep breath. Like that was a long meet. And then came back to my phone and was like, what happened? And
Mm-hmm.
so I think it might even be like a little bit of this swimming community being like, okay, finally, like, let's talk about the team race. Let's talk about this. Like, it's something that we've kind of meandered into being done with. And yeah, I mean, how do we do it? I have no idea. That's why I'm trying to fire off questions and ask other people.
Yeah. Hey, and I'm all for rivalries in the sport. If
Mhm.
we could get back to, I remember growing up and watching Duel in the Pool, USA versus Australia, because at that time you really could compare kind of the main two superpowers in the sport. And I know China had a really good meet as well, so I'm not trying to say that it's just the US and Australia, but that's a memory that I have. I would love if we could get into a position where there is like, you could feel the rivalry, feel the competitive energy between the two countries, and find a way to turn that into some really cool competition.
Yeah, I think the event calendar is something that needs to be pretty heavily addressed.
Yeah.
The every 4 years, it really is starting to feel like it's not as much an every 4 year mentality, especially for fans. I think fans are starting to latch a little bit more onto at least the annual side of things. But when you talk about, swimming being an annual sport and us celebrating that, it's still something that we need to be like, hey, let's try to fill up this event calendar, because there's definitely, and Bobby actually mentioned it when I talked to him, there's definitely that immediate kind of like drop off. And I think
Mhm.
it's because we're just so far out. We have the NCAA season, and hopefully international people can put the meterage aside and just adopt the yards mentality and just kind of hopefully latch onto that a little bit. But I mean, yeah, the consistency I think is what we need in the duel in the pool. But you're right. I mean, especially right now, if we rolled into like, we got the Olympics coming up, pretty important meet. But like after the Olympics, if we could kind of like keep that hype going and roll into a duel in the pool, I think that'd be pretty sick, because yeah, there's just a little bit of tension there. And I think, the rivalry mentality. I mean, I grew up with, the Phelps Cabbage was like,
Mhm.
dude, it was the coolest thing in the world. Coolest thing in the world. And I actually tweeted like a video of it. The Phelps Cabbage photo, not the one of them finishing at '08, but when they're in their full body suits in Rome before the 100
Mhm.
fly, both foot up on the block facing each other. I mean, I think that's like one of the coolest storylines we've had.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, I mean, and everyone's gonna be a little bit different with how hard they lean into rivalries. I mean, Phelps was someone where like, Phelps's personality is like Michael Jordan. So like if you watch The Last Dance, and like Michael Jordan was like, yeah, sometimes guys would say something that it really wasn't too bad, but I'd make it bad in my head. Michael did that because I mean, he was in a program where you're swimming a lot, and you kind of have to pull motivation from anywhere you can, and so he was really a master at that. Um, and I would say like that's definitely not everyone. Some people don't want to feel they want to feel like they're jumping into like a 6 a.m. morning practice. That's what they want to feel before a race. So everyone is a little bit different, but I'm definitely of the mindset like, hey, if there's anything we could do to pump up the adrenaline before the race, like let's do it. Because that's when I feel like a true professional athlete. Like you're either in an arena that's really loud, or you can feel your heart beating. That's the most fun part of the sport.
I like that. I like that. So you're like a little bit of that Jordan mentality. Get me fired up. So I mean, I asked the same question actually to Bobby. The lead up to this year's Worlds for me, and it might just be me. So feel free to say that no, I didn't feel any different. But I feel like the coverage and the expectation and the all around buzz felt a little bit different. Did you notice any of that, or did it just kind of feel like similar to the 47 Olympic Games and World Championships you've been to so far?
Uh, yeah, but could you maybe expand on it a little bit? Like what felt a little bit different?
Yeah, I think it was just the overall coverage. I think there was more buildup, and I think there was less reliance on like NBC, because in the past,
Hmm.
typically we've been like, why isn't NBC promoting this more? Why isn't there more coverage coming out of USA Swimming? Why isn't this happening or that happening? I think we've seen like I like to give props to all the other people in this space. Like
Hmm.
SwimSwam is starting to put out a lot more content. Swimming World, Brett Hawk, all of these different like independent little entities are popping up. And I think just that kind of like elevation of just overall conversation around each like individual event and
Hmm.
each individual athlete and stuff like that is starting to just like kind of raise all tides. I just wanted to see if you noticed any sort of like lift in pressure felt or lift in expectation or opinion floating around.
Yeah, yeah. So I'll answer the second one first. Like the any change in expectation or pressure, no. But I will say, like, yeah, I think the overall coverage of the sport has definitely gone up. I think like in talking to Mel at SwimSwam, like they're seeing really good international growth in terms of the users on their site, and I think they're leaning into that a little bit more. I see like what you're doing, and you have a different flair, different flavor, and I think it's honestly really fun to follow you on I guess now X, and see everything you're putting out there. And Brett Hawk is he likes to lean into the controversial topics, create a headline, and then also really get into the technical side of the sport. And so, I think there's some cool media coming up, and I think that's helping a lot. And then there are a lot of international stars, and like as you travel around to these countries, like you realize that there are swimming stars in other countries. Like as an example, going to Japan, like you get out of your race, and then you see Kosuke Higino, and he's their commentator now. Like he was able to take Olympic gold, turn that into a rowdy type career in Japan. And like there'll be posters of Irie around. So like they love swimming out there, and then you go to like, I mean, we had a girl from Egypt at Cal, Farida Osman, and she was like huge in Egypt. And so like you go to different areas of the world, and these athletes are stars, and I think it's important, like if we could somehow get awareness of other athletes in those markets, that's great. But then also get those athletes in the American markets because they do have a huge following.
Yeah, agreed. I think one great example as well is David Popovich and
Hmm.
I forget who I was talking to, but I talked to a few Romanian reporters and got to kind of, I think they're starting to understand the sport and like rally around David and try to understand like what's going on, because I think and I actually have a video about this coming out. There was a little bit of a naive opinion about David's performance. And we are definitely victims of the over sensationalization, if that's even a
Hmm.
word at all, of, a guy going 47 and 144 in the 200 free and being like, he's broken. it's
Hmm.
it's over. He's done. And in talking to a couple of those reporters, one of them compared his presence in Romania to that of like Messi. And I
Yeah.
mean, it's pretty intense to see, because I mean, I reached out to, or one of them reached out to me, one of the reporters in Romania reached out to me, and I put out like a couple of quotes and stuff like that. And then they immediately responded and they were like, hey, like, let's do that again. That caught a ton of traction over here. And I was like, am I going to be like a Romanian personality now? But I mean, you're right. There are definitely, I mean, we look at the American market a lot, and I think it's fair, because we are kind of like the Hollywood country in a sense. It's a large part of our economic situation over here. But yeah, I mean, Australia is, I mean, Chalmers has to deal with a completely different type of media
Hmm.
over there. The dude says that this might be his last Olympics, and everyone is clickbaiting saying that he's retiring. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, I mean, so what's kind of your mentality around like media? Do you like consume? Do you let yourself kind of lean into comments and read stuff, or do you try to kind of like put it away and just focus on the pool?
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be different at different parts of the year. You know, like when you're in competition, like there's not really any time to consume media, and you're really just like you've got your racing plan, so it doesn't really make a ton of sense to follow up with like current events, basically. Um, but I think at other parts of the season, like yeah, if you're trying to getting back to trying to pull motivation from wherever you can, like that's a way to do it is to consume some of the swimming media. Like I definitely in at all points in time, I'm trying to follow what's going on, like what competitions are going on, what people are doing. And so like I could be aware of like any potential like race strategy differences or things that are going on. So that's always a constant. But in terms of like getting on there reading comments, like sure I do at some points. I know that like I'm a pretty sturdy guy, like up to this point. So like knock on wood there, but like it doesn't. I'm able to frame these things in a pretty good way. So like it is kind of entertaining to get on there and read some of this stuff sometimes.
And I mean, as the sport grows, those opinions are going to grow and they're going to get
Yeah.
louder. They're definitely interesting. I'll get on this swim comment section and read through some, and sometimes they're just like some of the most ridiculous things that I've ever read in my life. But yeah, I mean, the
Yeah.
perspective of being able to like use that fuel, or at least like, I mean, for some reason, I've kind of put myself in the position where now people talk a little bit of shit about me as well, and being able to realize that like someone without a picture and a fake name typing something on a keyboard, like that's a real person out there sitting behind a fake name and a fake picture. Not that that's a bad thing. I think there's a little bit of perspective in those people are the people that are fueling the sport's growth. Even if
Yeah.
their opinions are really shitty and annoying, they are fueling things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, they can definitely consume you. I mean, it's a learning experience for sure.
Yeah.
Because I
And
mean,
I think it's really like you read if you read I tell the young people on the team this a lot. Like if you read that stuff and it's affecting you, like just ask yourself how many times has that person who like either who's writing the article or who's commenting on the article, how many times have they been out to watch you train in the year? And like typically swim might come out like once in a season, and like Durden Durden doesn't throw down like our best stuff like when they come out. It's like that's like a fun day. It's kind of like and he leans into like the camera being there, and we'll just do something that's more fun. So like no one has a glimpse of what we're doing day to day. And so like how they're literally just going off of like they're literally looking at age, in season performance, and that's kind of it. And those are good metrics to look at, but that's like that's such a little part of the whole story, that I think it's easy to translate. And then the people commenting, you just picture like something funny in your head of what that person might be doing on a day-to-day basis. And so like what I think of is if I see a comment about me and I and I get like a little ticked about it, I just picture a, a middle-aged guy in his basement, laying on his recliner chair with Cheeto dust in his belly button, just typing this mean comment, and then I feel better.
is it better or worse to be in a basement versus like in an office? Like in an office supposed to be doing a job,
Oh
and you're actually like on the swim. Actually, I don't know. It depends, because then you're getting paid. You're almost a professional commenter at that point. You're just kind of finagling the system.
yeah, yeah, yeah. There's no paid commenters. I think that's it. It's a weekend and nighttime activity. So I'm picturing like full veg mode. They're just absolutely chilling, uh, and stuffed on Cheetos.
I like it. And so you mentioned speaking of Cheetos, we'll talk a little bit about college, because that was pretty much my college diet. The college swimming situation is interesting
Mhm.
right now. I think Cal and Stanford are still a part of the newly crowned Pac-4. It's still the Pac-12 right now, and we have, I think, one more Pac-12 championship, unless we see a large amount of shuffling What are you thinking about just college swimming as now getting to be a college swimming fan and kind of watching the Pac-12 turn into, I mean, almost something that doesn't exist anymore. I mean, having swam in the Pac-12, it's definitely a disappointing thing to see.
Mhm.
I think it's exciting to see the reshuffling, but there is a little bit of nostalgia that's kind of just disintegrating in front of our faces. So yeah, what's your outlook on it?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, I can imagine like Skip Kenny rolling over in his grave, Nort Thornton rolling over in his grave. Like, there's a lot of legends that have coached in this conference, and so you kind of feel bad from like that legacy point of view. I mean, I'll say like watching NCAA's this past year, like that was really fun. So like NCAA championships is always going to be like the mecca of college swimming. Um, but I mean, the conferences, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. Like I'm all over, I'm all over trying to follow these insiders of what's going to happen with Cal, and I'm texting everyone I can. Like I'm on the board of our NIL collective at Cal. So like I'm texting the guy who's running it. And it's like, all right, what's the information? What's the feedback from the donors at this point? Um, and it's going to be interesting. There's a couple of options on the table for Cal. We just kind of have to figure out which one we like best.
Yeah, I mean, there's the ACC situation with Notre Dame seeming like they've got a little bit of a, I would say, an elevated, not interest, but amount of pull in that
Mhm.
situation where they're starting to talk about wanting Stanford and Cal in there. So it makes you wonder if Notre Dame might officially eventually climb out of the independent realm and latch on to an ACC. But it
Totally.
is definitely disappointing from the point of view of you know NCAA's for a while was Cal and Texas, and I know what you mean. I mean, this
Mhm.
year was exciting because we had like I think it was our first time getting to actually watch like you know after day two like who's going to win this, after day three
Mhm.
who's going to win this, and then towards the end of the meet, I think more often than not we're going to see a team start to break away and have it a shot at winning it in prelims on the last day like y'all did this
Mhm.
year. But the Pac-12 conference was finally starting to heat up to the point where, like, if Stanford really starts to put some pieces back together, we could have a 3-team race at Pac-12s. And then it's like now
Totally.
you've got that second meet throughout the year. So it's like you're not totally relying on just NCAA's being the starter of the excitement and also the ender of the excitement. So you have all the excitement and then you're done. But something interesting that is happening in the NBA is they're doing their in-season tournament now.
Mhm.
So I've thought about this for a long time and at length and talked to a lot of coaches about, how do we make the NCAA season more exciting from start to end?
Mhm.
Even if that means, there's like a halfway point or, track, I think has indoor and outdoor NCAAs. We just have one. What, I guess, I mean, this is a pretty intense question, but if you've thought about it before, what would you do to change the NCAA from a structural standpoint for swimming to make it like more exciting from front to back?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think I mean, I love bracket style tournaments. So, I think like if you went a bracket style NCAA championship, I mean, like March Madness that's got to be the best design of any of any college sport.
No
So,
doubt. No doubt.
um, anything you do to mimic that, I think the majority of teams are like, I feel like pretty much everyone, like, and I'd say Cal is on the side of like uh not, but like everyone, it feels like is resting for their meet in like November, December timeframe. So I think it'd be, and I'm just like, I haven't thought about this. So I thought about this a minute ago when you asked. I think if there was
Fresh
a,
perspectives are great.
I feel like if there was a qualification, if December was a qualification, and I think you could go like traditional style meets for that, and then March be the top 16 teams. And so everyone's ranked 1 to 16 bracket style dual meets. Um, and so it's 1v1. And then whoever wins that dual meet, and I think you got to keep it one single day. I know that's not the
Mhm.
best for like going like super fast times, but in terms of like consuming really anything, like I if they played the first half of an NFL game one day and the second half the next day, I would be like, I'd only watch the second day. So
Yeah.
actually, NFL is a bad example because I love the NFL. Basketball, I'd only watch the second day. So swimming, I think it has to be one day. So just a single dual meet, 1v1, and then with 16 teams, if you're winning every time, was that five dual meets?
Yeah, I think 16, 8, 4, 2. No, just before, right?
Just four? Okay.
16, 8,
Yeah.
4, 2. Yeah.
Yeah. Because, yeah. So over the course of 4 weeks, you just do it on, you stack them. So it's Friday and Saturday, just boom, 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 like literally March Madness.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think that's one of the ideas that a lot of people have is trying to figure out how to make it a tournament, try to figure out also how to get away from needing an NCAA record to be exciting. I think we definitely
Mhm.
lean on the world record and the NCAA record and the record and the performance side of swimming, the advancement of like human performance in general. And yeah, figuring out how to do the race when you're tired. I think skins is kind of a good example of that, just in a very tight window of time, right? You don't care that people are starting to go slower in that last head to head. It's kind of exciting that they're tired and you're like, all right, let's see, who can really grit their teeth and just power through a 50 free. And I mean, Caleb is the skin swimmer of skin swimmers because I mean the dude does some serious volume training and I think kind of
Mhm.
enjoys it. And then you see him also be able to pair that with the speed at the end of a skins race. I mean, him and Shostrom are like the skins swimmers. But I mean the 18 or no 16 team bracket is really interesting. So for I mean the qualification happening in December, are you doing like a time qualification or are you doing like a team format type qualification or is that like an NCAA qualification? Because I do think that the November, December invites right now are just kind of like a thing that we do.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's a good question. I think you could go multiple ways with it. It could be, um, I think you could go like similar qualification to the way NCAA's currently is. So if it's, call it top 24 in the country, um, and whichever team has the most kids in the top 24, you could go that
Mhm.
way, or you could go off of like overall depth and figuring out like what is, you know, 1 to 18, what are the deepest teams, and make it 1 to 16 that way.
So, I mean, talking about excitement in swimming and just excitement in general, swimming is an exciting sport. It can be, but it can also be an absolutely brutal and mentally draining sport. And I mean, you've been on the international stage and, on the I guess I would say like the media stage for a while with your name out there and all that stuff. What are I would say like some let's just go one and one. What's like the high point of your swimming career so far, and what's like a little bit of like a low point?
Yeah, I'd say low point. I mean, low point definitely would have been 2019 Worlds. Um, so that one was one where like I was coming off of 2018 and I had a really good summer in 2018. Like we flew and like in comparatively to the US, I felt like I had a good summer. So like that we had a weird travel schedule going to Pan Pacs in 2018. Like we flew from California to Japan like 4 days before the meet or something. So like
Ooh,
yeah, so like we were like I was like wide awake at like 5 a.m. every day.
yeah, that's
Uh
not enough time.
yeah. So it was just like it was an interesting meet. And I was going like I went 51.9 in the 100 back and 153.5 in the 200 back. So, you know, best time in the 200 and right there in the 100. So going into 2019, I was like, all right, like I'm gonna smoke this. Like I'm gonna get the world record and like go really fast. And I ended up, missing the podium in the 100 back, and then got second in the 200 back. So it was just kind of like like I feel like I had worked harder than that. And then I think honestly we'd probably almost overworked that year. And so like when you have a bad performance as a result of overworking, that just becomes a little bit disappointing. Um, I'd say the high. I mean, I'm always stoked. I'm like I love the sport. So like
That's a great quote.
yeah. So I
I'm
can
always stoked.
I could pull some excitement from every summer. I mean, like the best meet I had was 2016 for sure.
Mhm.
And coming back to, that was in between my junior and senior year of college. So like, in terms of like extending that excitement, like I came back and I was living with like four guys. So we were able to like extend that excitement for like, probably too long. And
Yeah.
but it was an incredible couple months there.
Yeah, I bet. I mean, yeah, living with four guys after a big meet, I could see that excitement kind of trickling out. And then eventually it does trickle out, which is a good thing.
Yes, yeah.
So, I mean, talking about, excitement and fun, you mentioned golf, you mentioned getting to go to Cabo, and congratulations on your future conjoinment of yourself and your current fiance. That's exciting. And I do want to kind of get a gauge on where your golf game's at. Is golf for you something that is becoming maybe the same thing that it's becoming for a lot of people with like COVID hitting and everyone being like, what the hell do I do? I got to get outside. I got to golf. There's a lot of people that are getting full on just addicted to it. Myself was one of them. I've kind of fallen off a little bit recently, which is a little bit disappointing. But where's the golf game at? Where are you looking to take it to, like, because a lot of high level athletes have a really hard time taking on a new game and being like, this is just going to be a thing that I do for
Mhm.
fun. This is going to be something I do for fun. I don't care how I play. So what kind of like golfer are you? Where are you looking to take it? And yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, is it a fun thing? Do you
No,
want to shoot 63?
no, it's a fun game. Like for like I'm one of those golfers where the worst part of my game is putting, and the second worst part of my game is chipping. So like I'm a person. I go to the driving range. I try to be good with the wedges, irons, and driver. And so it's really just I want to be serviceable enough that I could play with anyone really. Uh, I would love to I'd love to do like a pro am before one of these tournaments. Like I think if I could get to the level that I'm like excited to do that, uh, and well confident enough to do that, that I'm not gonna like hit a patron, then that would be awesome. But like I'll typically if I don't know, I've probably played like 5 times since Worlds, and so like now I'll shoot in the 80s like pretty much every time I play now.
Yeah, I mean, I always say that if you're like a sub 100 golfer, that's when the game is at its most fun. When you're shooting 120,
Nah.
my former roommate is probably the only person that I've ever met in my life that could shoot 130 and probably be just as excited as if you shot a 75. The dude just now has started to allow me to get yardages for him. Previously, he would just be like, he would eyeball it and be like, 147 iron, and I'd be like shooting it for him with the rage fighter, and it would like pop up 90 yards on the screen as he just annihilates one like 50 yards over the green. But yeah, I mean, if you're shooting in the 80s, I will say golf and the pressurization that comes with it, a tiny mistake and you're hitting one off the hosel. So, I mean, in the mid 80s, I think all you really need is a little bit of exposure to like the right and the left fan galleries, and I think you'd be fine.
Yeah,
But I
yeah.
mean,
Yeah, I don't
it's a game of millimeters. So you get into your head and your backswing, and things could get pretty dicey pretty quick.
yeah, that's when I started just swinging really hard. Is if I'm thinking in the backswing. I don't know if golf is the same as swimming. Like I don't know if I really want my heart beating out of my chest in golf. Uh, but no, it's a great time. Like it's great. It's a great way for me to just like get out on the weekend, see the boys, and yeah, just have a chill weekend.
Yeah, and so actually to your point about golf and swimming, I took like 5 years off, then decided to come back and start swimming breaststroke again, and we're
Mhm.
still trying that thing. Um, I've actually kind of found some similarities in golf in that when you try to make a swing change, you typically will just be like immediately add 10 points to your handicap. And you just
Mhm.
like you're kind of like out of wits. In swimming, it's kind of feels like the same thing. If you make a stroke change, you might kind of like get out of sorts for a little while and kind of like lose your feel and then have to like reestablish it. Um, But the point that you made about the heartbeat and the heart rate, 100% spot on, because I've had moments. I actually made my first eagle of my entire life last, I think it was actually like Monday or Sunday.
Let's
And
go.
the reason that I think I like made it happen was it was so hot. We talked about this before, probably before we started rolling. It was so hot that I kind of like lost my ability to like even think about pressure or think about the situation, and just hit three shots where my heart rate was probably like 80, just sitting
Yep.
there and just like kind of smacked the putt and it happened. And the last chance before that I had to make an eagle, I think it was like a 4 foot putt that I ended up three putting for par. And I was just probably like so in my head before that. So speaking of like in your head before a race, I know you talked about being the guy that gets like fired up. Are you, I think you rock headphones out to the blocks.
Mhm.
What kind of music do you have going on in your headphones? Are you like heavy rap, heavy metal, classical? Or are you like the type of person that's walking out with classical music, like someone that we should probably be a little bit worried about?
Yeah. No, I'm not classical. I'll go like deep house. Like yeah, no, I'm trying to get I'm just trying to like throw gasoline on the energy.
Okay. So deep house, like give me an artist and a track name.
All right. So what I was listening to this summer, I'll just pull it up. All right, this summer was Love Nor Money by DOD. Uh
DOD. Hmm.
I like I'll Be Here by Popesca. Lane eight's always good. I mean, lane eight, if I'm trying to just like mellow out in the ready room, I like that. Um, Side piece has some good deep house. So yeah, no, that's what I'm typically trying to hit. Like when I first started doing international meets and I was like really nervous, then I would try to do like punk rock and the stuff that like is more is more just like feel good, and
Yeah.
like that would put me in a good spot.
Yeah, I think I was always a little too intense. I think I was definitely a little bit too intense as a 400 IMer. I was like, just play me the most noise that you can put into my headphones, and then my race strategy also was like to kind of relax on the butterfly. So it was a very counterintuitive race strategy, especially pre-race strategy. It's always
Well, I
interesting
think
though to
that's
hear
actually
like,
great. I actually think that's great. Like if you're so amped that like your fly feels extra easy, that's a win.
yeah, I think the only issue was it wasn't. I think my butterfly just was never easy. It was always like just a complete nightmare, and just get your hands on the wall after the fourth 25, and then start to play the game of the 400 IM after that.
That's why you came back as a breaststroker.
Yeah, I'm starting to consider maybe coming back as a butterflyer now that breaststroke has proved to be quite challenging. If Josh can't fix me and make me at least mediocre, I think I might just be broken. But I mean, talking about butterfly, I do want to talk a little bit about your career as a butterflyer, or just at least touch on it, because you've kind of done this thing over the course of your career where randomly you'll just kind of pop in and remind everyone that you're like a 51. What's your best time in the 100 fly? You just did it recently, right? 51.9, 51.8,
51-3.
51.3.
Yeah.
See, I actually knew. I was just setting you up to just lower it even more. So what is the goal with the 100 fly? Do you have a goal with the 100 fly, or is it just kind of a thing that like you'll look at the event lineup and be like, it's time. Now is the time. I'm gonna sneak in a 51 200 fly now.
Yeah. So I've always liked to mix it up in training. So like I actually do a lot of IM training throughout the year. I just think that's like it's just a great way to get in really good shape. Um, and it's a great way to push Destin. Like there were there was a morning in like January or February on a Saturday where Durden wrote a set, and it was like every single time I had to go do IM with Destin. And like what he told me before is he was like, I want you to take out these IMs as fast as you can and just, teach Destin what it's like to go next to that. And then he told Destin, he was like, all right, Destin, I need you to picture that Ryan is actually French and his name is actually Leon, and you got to go chase here. And so I like being I like doing IM to be like a good training partner, and I think it gets me in really good shape. Um, and then for like the third event after the backstrokes, I mean, for a couple of years there, I was doing 100 free, and you know, and then it just always turned out that like the forward free relay was conflicting with the 100 back, and so it just kind of like we just got to the point where it's like, all right, like I could, even if I get really good at the 100 free, like I don't think I'm going to get to the point where I can swim it individually. And swimming it on a relay, like that would always be a double. And so like I don't know how the coaches would react to that. So then it was all right, let's do a little bit more fly. And we started that really in 2020, 2021. Was doing a lot more fly work. And it's great to get off the backstroke when the backstroke gets too tired too. So started in 2021. And it's really just like if we have 3 rounds of a set, I'll go 2 of them backstroke, 1 of them fly. And it just has a good way to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah, I like the yeah, the story of getting to be kind of the rabbit for Destin. Because yeah, it's no secret that Leon likes to step on the gas pretty aggressively on the first. I mean, I think as far as he can lay the pedal down for as long as he can. I mean, I
Yeah.
think that first 100 and his 200 IM at NCAA's is still one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen in my life. I mean, he was at like 44-0 or something like that. And
Yeah.
it caused Rowdy to be like, did the pad go off wrong or like, or what's going on here? Because I mean, as an IMer and someone that didn't swim butterfly well, it's something that can absolutely get in your head. Having somebody take it
Mhm.
out real quick and then like take a peek and be like, there's no shot. Like there's just no shot that I can come back after this. So getting that
Yeah.
exposure therapy is definitely a good thing. But speaking of short course, you were a pretty good short course swimmer to say the least. The US Open in 2024 is in short course yards. Are
Mhm.
your eyes completely set on Paris, or maybe we'll get a little bit of Ryan Murphy back in a short course yards pool?
Oh,
What
I'd
are we
love.
what are we feeling?
Oh, I would love to get a taper meet short course. I mean, it's almost at the point now where I need to go recruit some of the other post grad men to get after it because I do really feel like the short course yards records are meant for the college age athletes. Um, yeah, but no, I love doing short course. Like we'll do some suit up short course just like with the college team and like yeah, no, I think I've definitely gotten better at short course since I was at college.
Interesting. So short course yards taper meet right now. What are we looking at? Do you think 100 fly, 100 back, and then yeah, we'll throw in 100 fly because you're a big 100 fly guy now.
Uh, what was the first one? So 100 fly, 100 back. What was the
100
other one?
fly, 100 back, 200 back.
Uh, yeah, I think 100 back. I'll just like give you like practice times, I guess. So like we did a we did 100 back, like not from a start, like just start off the side. Like I had on a tech suit, but start off the side, just like push off. So we did one that was like 2 weeks before trials in 21, and I went 44-0 there. So I think, I mean, I got to imagine I could, with a great swim, I think I could do 42. 100 fly, I've been 44 in practice, so I think I could probably go 43. And then 200 back is a tough one. I mean, because like if that's like the beginning, like if that's the first event I do, like we did a 150 this year, and I was like, I think I was 109.6. So I think I could go 34, maybe 30. I don't know. We'll say 34.
Say it. Just say the
Nah,
number. Come on.
no, I'll say 34. So that was to a
Headline:
hand.
Ryan Murphy says he could go 131 in a 200 backstroke short course yards in a J kid.
Oh,
I
you
mean,
know,
yeah, 44-0 from a push 100 back. That's got to be 43.
oh yeah. Well, yeah. 40, yeah. I think it'd be 3 low. I don't know. I'm probably
Yeah, I
not
mean
going to do
40.
it. So
42. Oh, come on. We'll figure out how to get a GoFundMe together to do whatever you need to do to get you to the 2024 US Open in short course yards. I think something that would be a blast to see. I mean, obviously having some international guys come over and swim short course yards would be awesome to get to see some
Oh,
of those names in that course. But I think what would be awesome as well is to get like a Team USA power relay in every single relay going and just see if we could take out some of these NCAA records that are held by like Florida. Take out the 200 medley relay and put together some just like all-star teams to start to like chip away and steal some relays from the college kids and maybe get like a little bit of an NCAA v I don't know all-star relay type situation going. I don't know if they're
yeah.
offering relays or what the parameters behind that would be. Just putting together, you have to like form some sort of like LSC shell company to get everybody underneath one name.
No, that, I think that would be great for like the like that dual meet model of like going back to dual in the pool. But I mean, if it you just have each country that it's on their home turf. You know, if it's in the U.S., we do short course yards. If it's there, we do short course meters or long course meters or whatever they want to do.
Yeah, I mean that'd be interesting if like the winning team got to choose the format. It's like the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
wins and we can be like, all right, short course yards. Australia wins, probably going long course meters. It would make sense, but oh man, I think getting, I mean, I posted a video about the short course yards US Open thing, and like 90% of the comments were like Kyle Chalmers 100 freestyle, and getting to watch like, I mean, him and, you know, you could get a Dressel come back to his native grounds of short course yards swimming. Dude's like a spring off the walls.
Yeah, I
Um,
think so, well, some of those. I mean, I think watching some of these guys go at 500 free would be incredible.
yeah, I agree. I mean, Hafnaui's swimming in the NCAA next year, I believe.
Is
And I
he?
think that's going to be. I mean, he's at IU. He couldn't swim this year. I forget what it was. I forget why, but I mean, it is the Olympic year, so maybe he's not. Maybe I'm wrong. If I'm wrong, drop a comment and let me know I'm wrong. But seeing him
Oh,
swim that 500 could be really interesting because I do think that 500 that record has the capability of someone just going like 403 and just kind of being like, what's up? I mean, this
yeah,
record's been around for a long time. We've kind of chipped down at it, but I feel like we haven't had that Leon type swim. I mean, he just took like, I don't even know how many seconds he just took off the 400 IM NCAA record. I think it was like 4 or 5. But yeah, I'm with you. I think that 500, you get the right guy that can kind of use length as an
hmm
advantage going out like real smooth to the 250 and then close like half now he can. I think yeah, that'd be a blast.
yeah. It's just such an interesting like race strategy event. I mean, I think if someone nails that race strategy, I think 404 could be in the cards there.
Yeah, it's a weird race. It's a really weird race because it's like a lot of turns, and the faster that record gets, the faster you get. Well, that's quite the statement. The faster the record gets, the faster you got to go. But the faster it gets, the faster you got to like. I don't even know how else to say it, but I think it makes sense.
Oh, you got to go out like Townley did, uh,
Yeah,
and just hold. Oh, I mean, he ate on like the last 50 even. Like just hold on two more laps.
yeah. I mean, it's kind of the Leon strategy, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna push this out so fast that if I close in, I forget what he closed in his 200 IM, but I think it was like 24 something, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone was like, he died. I'm like, he died because he went out 44
Yeah, because he
and then
split
split 27
22.
on the breaststroke. Yeah, at some point, you know, you just got to figure out how to elongate the sprint.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, that 500 is an interesting one. I think we'll play a little bit of a game here real quick. Actually, we'll see what you have off the top of your head. I actually have no idea either. What men's record do you think right now is the most untouchable?
Men's record, probably the 800 free.
Or let's go short course yards.
Oh,
800 free. I'm with you.
yeah, short course yards. There's got to be 50 free, right? No, well, actually now 4 IM is so good. Um,
It's tough when you've got the active swimmer in the event still.
yeah,
We'll take Leon out of the equation. So anyone that's swimming right now that owns the record, we'll take him out of there.
well, it's got to be 50 free then.
I think, yeah, I think that's fair because that's going to take a. I mean, it's almost like a Usain Bolt type record. You know,
It's such a
it's a
fast, like it's the event happens so fast, and you get that many bodies in there. Like you got to be able to, you have to be able to like get out of that zone where like everyone's dragging each other like off the start, like just like how Caleb did, like, and it's just hard to get that amount of distance by 15.
yeah, yeah. He's pretty good at that.
Oh, it's
It's an
ridiculous.
interesting thing to watch. Yeah. I mean, well, speaking of starts, I think you've got one of the most ridiculous reaction times. And Rowdy loves to talk about reaction times. I think you're probably one of his favorite reaction time swimmers. I mean, you're like zero point 0.5 low, zero point 0.4 high off the blocks. Is that just like natural? Is it? It's like something falling within like 5 feet of you. You're like instinct, just catch it before it hits the ground, or is that something like you train? Do you train like out on a drag strip or something?
No, we don't train reaction time. I've always had good reaction time, like going back to the age group days. I really think it's just the I mean, I just think it's the angle you're hitting the pad. So like my toes are on the pad instead of the wedge. So I think I probably just trigger the thing faster. But like, I mean, really, like I changed my start in like 2018, and I just kind of mimicked what I saw the Japanese doing, because the Japanese for the first bit of my career were just destroying people on the starts and destroying them on reaction time. So I think it's partially the just the technique of the start.
Were you ever? Do you remember the phase of backstroke starts where people did the all the way
Mhm.
lean back with the head back? Did you ever dabble with that?
I've tried out every backstroke start. I think, yeah, yeah, yeah. I've it just doesn't it doesn't make a ton of sense to me. Like if like I'll just explain my philosophy on backstroke starts. Like if someone was going to say, "Hey, do a vertical jump," which is basically what a backstroke start is with an arch, um, you wouldn't start with your butt on your heels. Like you'd start in like
It's true.
a stronger position than that. So yeah, that one just has never made much sense to me.
I'm gonna take that to the sand volleyball court because for some reason when I try to do a vertical jump and block someone, I am pretty much ass on the Achilles tendons for some
Yeah.
reason. I don't know. I think maybe in sand it's a little bit different because you get a little bit of a cushion, so you got to get like a little bit of a lower position. But we talked about golf. Do you dabble in any other sports like in the off season or even like during the season?
No, not really. I'm nervous of getting injured. Like I rolled my I got sprained my ankle one of the years, and it just nagged, like it nagged for so long. So no, I stay away from the other stuff. I'd love to do it. Like yeah, I'd love to go play like the the post college kickball league, and go play basketball with with the young professionals club. And yeah, that stuff all sounds great, but no, I'm holding off on it till after swimming.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. Swimmers don't have the best joints outside of the water. Yeah, the ankle thing is very real. I mean, I'll like feel my ankle start to give out like when I'm just like standing up, like doing a stand up desk meeting. And I'm like, there, there goes the ankles that I stretched to try to turn them into fins my entire life, about to give out on me
Yep.
halfway through this stand up call.
Especially
Yeah,
breaststroke
no, that's
too. Like breaststroke, you really need the full mobility.
yeah. Yeah. So what kind of like do you still do mobility or at this point like in your career are you like my joints are pretty loose. I'm going to kind of like let them do what they're doing right now. Or are you still trying to get more and more flexible?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like naturally it gets tight for me, and it's just like being aware of which areas are tight. Like I think my shoulders are always pretty mobile, so I don't have to spend a ton of time there. But my hips get really tight, so that's kind of where I put most of the mobility focus.
Yeah, I pretty much everything's tight, especially after yesterday. The sand volleyball championship. I'm a lay your life on the line type of guy in sand volleyball for some
Yeah.
reason. So I took a couple falls that like in the moment I was like, that's going to be a week recovery time. Um,
You were fighting through
yeah,
extreme dehydration as well.
yeah, if you're listening to this and you don't understand the reference because I chopped it out at the beginning, we were talking about the heat wave in Austin right now. It's about 107 to like 105 to 107 on average on repeat. I think it's probably the hottest summer that we've ever had here. Are you so? I mean, you've been in California for a long time now.
Mhm.
Is California kind of going to be where you're planting your feet for good, or are you like eyeballing any other places? I know like life can change, later on, but is Cali just Murph's home at this point for good?
Yeah, I mean, I think as long as I'm swimming for sure. I'd love to explore like career opportunities out here as well, and just give myself a chance. Because I've always thought that like my talent, like not even swimming wise, just like life. Like if you throw me in a room of people, like I feel like I'm pretty good at rising to the top. Um, and so the room out here is some pretty impressive people, and so if I could get myself in that, kind of in those circles, and get a chance to learn from the best, like I want to give myself a chance to do that, and see where it goes. At the same time, like I'm always going to be going back to Florida a good bit. Like it was announced a couple of days ago, I'm opening up a swim school in Jacksonville, so that's going to be great roots in Jacksonville, and I'm really excited to just have a lifelong, just have like a lifelong business in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I saw the commercial. I didn't expect the the solo media presence from the mascot. I thought that was solid. So I mean, there's a business venture there. What's a we'll go money being no object. What's like the Murph dream job?
Ooh, Murph dream job. I mean, I think like I always want to be someone where I have multiple streams of income. So like I want to stay involved in the sport at a couple of different levels. So like I really like having the learn to swim. I think that's a great place for me to start. I'd love to stay involved on the professional side as well. And kind of just like ideating what to do there. I think the dream job would be if I could get to a point where I've had enough uh, business success of my own, then going and helping other people build their dream companies. So like, you could call it like, I mean, you could just call it like private equity. Like I'm an advisor to a venture capital firm out here, and so that's like really early stage. So that's like if you have three people and an initial business idea, it is so exciting talking to those people. Like they're so fired up, they've got a vision, like it's awesome. Uh, and I think later on in the process is almost more exciting for me because you have to work with more people in order to help push this thing forward. And I enjoy working within the team. So I kind of think like if I could get to a point where I'd be respected and valued in private equity, I think that would be awesome.
Speaking of private equity, I've always wanted to sell socks. So just kind of putting that
Bombas.
out there on the table. I love Bombas. I mean, I would love to compete with them someday. I mean, growing up with sock in your last name, it's just always kind of
Mm-hmm.
felt like that would end up being something that I would end up kind of venturing into the textile business. So maybe we'll have to have an offline conversation about getting some equity involved in the launch of a sock company, because unfortunately there's a sock company that I don't want to name, but it's the one that comes after my first name in the video that you're just watching. Josh just texted me. Yeah, so we'll get some conversations lined up. Maybe we'll launch a swimming based sock line. Who knows?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, unfortunately, yeah. Unfortunately, you're building a swimming network here. So yeah,
Yeah,
your
flip
base.
flops.
Yeah, yeah. There's got to be an angle there, though.
Yeah, there's got to be something, right? You can get creative. I mean, with the amount of companies that are launching these days, do something that's a little bit different. But we'll wrap things up here. Any plugs you want to throw out there outside of, you know, the Murph Swim School? I'll go ahead and maybe drop that link to that commercial in the description so people can watch this skit.
Sure. Yeah. So really thankful. I'm wearing the Speedo shirt. So always thankful to Speedo for the support, putting me in great technology and helping me be able to just focus in on the training. Like that's been super helpful in my career. And Goldfish Swim School has been an incredible partner too, and really helped me as an athlete. And now this is turning into, you know, a lifelong business venture for me. So that's incredibly exciting.
100%. And then Sock Club coming soon. Ryan Murphy, Kyle Sockwell, Sock Club launching. We'll call it 2025 because 2024, you've got the Olympics potentially and the U.S. Open short course yards where we'll see Ryan Murphy go 42-1 and 131-6 in the 100 and 200 backstroke and probably 39-24 in the 100 butterfly. Thanks for watching, Ryan. As always, thanks for joining. It's great to get to talk to you outside of, you know, the pool and get to talk to you about some stuff other than stuff that pertains to the pool. So thanks for watching, y'all. Hit that like button, drop a comment, let Ryan know what you liked or what you didn't like about his opinions. He will read them. He will use them as fuel for the next meet. And yeah, maybe we'll get Ryan back on again soon. Thanks, y'all.
Awesome. Appreciate it, man.
Well, look at you. You made it to the end of the podcast episode. If you haven't liked the video yet and you made it all the way to the end, one, you either skipped all the way over here for some weird reason. I don't know why you're trying to see the end of an hour-long video like this, or two, you enjoyed it so much that you watched it all the way through, maybe with a couple little skips throughout the video. If either of those are true, hit that like button because you enjoyed the video, or you're weird and you skipped all the way to the end of it. Drop a comment letting us know what your favorite part of the video was. Do you relate with something that Ryan or I said? Or do you not relate with anything that Ryan or I brought up or mentioned? If that's the case, then you're probably not a swimmer, and I am wondering why you are here. Like that video, hit the comment button. I'm getting these backwards. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. We got a lot of podcast episodes in the queue, already recorded and coming out soon. Thanks, y'all. See ya.